want to know the...
What's up, guys? It's SRC bringing you another Modern Warfare 3 gameplay. This time I'm bringing you the full gameplay from the video that I posted a few days ago where I had that 6-man kill feed. And so this is the entire gameplay that you wanted to see. I had several comments and people sending me messages that they wanted to see the entire gameplay. And so I think I ended up going 53 and 22 using the MP7 and the support package. And you can see I just take my standard opening route here right to the C flag, which is where I go regardless of which direction I spawn in. And so just, you know, enjoy the gameplay. What I wanted to talk today, though, is kind of a response to the Chris Smoove video from a few days ago where he had talked about death streaks and how death streaks shouldn't be a reward for players doing badly. And that they should actually punish the person for dying so many times in a row. And that is the exact philosophy that I have. I think that if you die 4 times, 5 times, 6 times in a row, there should be a punishment for you, not a reward. And so one of the things he had talked about was Dead Man's Hand and kind of how players should basically be punished for using Dead Man's Hand. And he kind of had a pretty unique story or a situation in that he would have people who have Dead Man's Hand and how that would work. I'll put a link to that video in the description if you guys want to check out his video. It's always good, and he's got some pretty beastly gameplay, so definitely check that out if you have some time. But this really got me thinking, what would the death streaks be, or what should they be? I would be okay if they were just completely taken out of the game. I don't think there's a place for them at all. But if you are going to have death streaks in the game, I think that they, again, should punish the player. And so I went down the list of the death streaks and made kind of my own tweaks and changes into what I think they should be. And so the first one is juiced. Obviously, you guys know when you're juiced, you run. I think it's 10 seconds that you get to run at a faster speed. Well, instead of juiced, I think it should be called poisoned. And it should slow you down to the speed that a juggernaut moves. So it should punish you by making you, stop running to your death immediately, slow the game down a little bit. Obviously, it's moving too fast if you're dying that much in a row. And so by moving you down to the juggernaut speed, I think that would be a good death streak. The second one is revenge. And what that does is it basically puts the person that killed you on your mini-map, almost like a UAV for that one person. So you can go out and get revenge on the person that killed you. I think that's a terrible idea. I don't know why you would reward somebody like that. So what I would do is change it, and let's call this Find the Noob. And what that does is it actually puts you, the person that died 4 or 5 times in a row, on the enemy radar until you get a kill. So as soon as you spawn, you're on the enemy radar. I would even have it like the triangle, so everybody knew that it wasn't just the guy shooting his gun. Have it a special colored triangle on the map, and let the other team know where you are. That's a really nice deterrent for people dying over and over again. And then the other one is Final Stand, and I cannot stand this. It's just awful. And so what I would do is if you choose the Final Stand death streak, you would spawn in Final Stand. So when they kill you, you don't go into Final Stand, you just die. But when you respawn, you spawn in Final Stand, and you can only crawl until you get a kill. So you have to just basically gimp around the map and try and get a kill that way. None of this falling down when you get shot into a Final Stand. Like, that's garbage. That needs to be taken out of the game. Let's change it so that these guys spawn in Final Stand and have to crawl around. The next one is Martyrdom, which is where you drop a grenade. And this is one that, again, is kind of just, luckily the grenades have a timer and it's pretty easy to get away. But there's certainly instances where it's just kind of BS and kind of a cheap kill when it does get a kill. So what I would do is if you selected the Martyrdom death streak, you actually wouldn't get any grenades or any assault kill streaks that entire life. And so instead of you dropping a grenade when you die, you just respawn without grenades, and you can't earn any assault kill streaks until you get a kill. So I think that's a good counterbalance to that, a nice punishment for getting several deaths in a row. And then the next one, this is my personal favorite, Dead Man's Hand. right now, when you fall down into basically final stand, you have C4 in your hand that you can explode and kill usually the person that killed you or other people around you. And it's got a pretty big radius. I think it's a little overpowered, and honestly, it's quite ridiculous to have in this game. So I would change that up. Let's call this perk Jihadist. And in here, you have, instead of having C4 in your hand that you can detonate, you basically, when you respawn after dying that 6th time in a row, you would have C4 strapped to your chest, and it would blow up if you get shot. So basically, anybody shooting you in the chest is a one-shot kill because they're going to detonate the C4. And one other change I would make is that the explosive damage would only be friendly fire damage. So you're not going to kill any enemies with this, but if you're running around your teammates, you could kill them with it. So I think that would make it an interesting thing if somebody died 6 times in a row, they had C4 strapped to their chest, and then people shot them and it blew up their own teammates. You know, so that, again, a nice deterrent to not die 6 times. And then the final death streak in the game is hollow points. And with hollow points, right now, you do an extra 140% bullet damage for your first kill. Well, I think that that should be reversed. You should take 140% extra bullet damage until you get a kill. There's no sense in rewarding these people that die over and over again. I don't understand the logic behind death streaks. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't know of anybody who's actually come out and said that they enjoy having them or think it's a good part of the game. So I think that Infinity Ward should take a look at this. You know, certainly you don't have to adapt my stand on it with the ones that I suggested, but let's just take them out of the game. I mean, there's really no reason to have Dead Man's Hand or Final Stand or Martyrdom or any of those things in the game. And so that's basically what I wanted to cover today. I thought, you know, it was a pretty good idea that Chris Smoove had when he was talking about how he would make some changes to it and how it should punish the other team. And that's definitely something that I agree with completely. So let me know in the comments below, which of the death streaks do you guys hate the most? Which ones do you think they should take out of the game, or all of them? And out of the ones that I just created here, the poisoned, which slows you down, the find the noob, where you're on the enemy radar the entire time until you get a kill, or the final stand, where you spawn in final stand, or the martyrdom, where you don't get grenades, or the jihadist Dead Man's Hand version, where you have C4 strapped to your chest, or the hollow points, where you take 140% bullet damage. Let me know in the comments below if any of those sound like they are better alternatives to what they have now. And if you had to choose one of those death streaks, which one would you choose? And right now, what death streaks are you using in the game? Are you using Dead Man's Hand? Are you using Final Stand? Me personally, I only use Juiced. I use it just because with hardline, it's you know, a couple of deaths and you're getting that, and it's just a nice way to get back to the action. See, for me, I don't want some cheap kill. I don't want to be, you know, away from the action. I want to be getting there faster. And so for me to have juice to be able to run back to where I want to be quicker is a benefit that I don't really think harms anybody. I mean, it doesn't end anybody else's kill streaks. It doesn't, you know, get me cheap kills like a lot of these other ones do. And I really just don't like seeing that in the game. And I really hope that they do something about it in a patch, but I think it's probably pretty unlikely at this point. And so in this game here, the reason I wanted to post this whole thing is because, you know, you guys asked for it, you wanted to see the entire game, but it's also a really close domination match. Most of our teammates were really disorganized. I don't really know what they were doing. The enemy team was completely disorganized, and at the end of the game, they're sitting there yelling at each other in the chat and you know, picking on each other, calling each other names, blaming each other for the loss, basically. And so you'll see throughout this game, we've got different flags all the time. Sometimes we have 2, sometimes we have 1. I think there's certain points we have all 3. And, you know, it's just constantly running around. And, you know, it made it difficult to try and keep track of the spawns and where people were going to be. There were times where it felt like we would have C, but they would be, you know, behind us, or we would have B and they'd be on the other side of it, which just didn't make sense. And so most of this game, people are just kind of all over the place, and that's really why I died 22 times. Also, too, when I play the support killstreak package, I kind of just run around with reckless abandon. I don't really, try to stay alive because there's really no point in getting a streak. So the faster I can just get out there and get at enemies and try and get kills, or try to take a position, or help our team get some map position, that's what I'm going to do. And certainly dying's not good. I'm not trying to die, but, just kind of the way the game played out, it just kind of worked out that way. And so I was kind of unfortunate that I had so many deaths, especially at the end here. This last couple minutes of the game, I just get a couple of times where there's just a guy behind me that I didn't think should have been behind me. It's just looking at the map where our team was, where they had position on the map. I kind of anticipated where people would be, and then I'd have somebody come up behind me and shoot me in the back. And so it was just, and right there I should have got that knife. I don't know how I didn't knife that thing. I ran out knowing that I was going to get shot, but I figured I could at least take that remote sentry out, but oh well. And so, this game's wrapping up here. It's a really close game, so you can see, as I realize that the game's winding down and it's getting closer to the end and the score is pretty close, that I just want to try and push the objectives a little bit more than I have in some other parts of this game. I try to, make sure that we hold the flags that we have and, get the victory. But, one other thing I wanted to point out about the support package, and just to ask this question to you, is what type of last streak do you use? Do you guys use for the 18? Do you use the assault? I forget what it's called here. The Overwatch, basically, that drops the care packages, or do you use the juggernaut, or are you using the EMPs? So let me know in the comments which one you think is best. I'm kind of torn between them. But I appreciate you guys watching that. Again, I think 53 and 22 is the final, and I appreciate you guys' support, and I will see you guys in the game. Thanks a lot.